Hello, beautiful people. Let's talk core beliefs. The thing that I see time and time again is how people with chronic symptoms have the same reoccurring core beliefs that are stored deep in their subconscious, that is running the code from their programs and conditioning since childhood over and over and over again. These core beliefs then signal to your nervous system. They signal sensations in the somatic body. They are outplaying everything that we see in our daily life. Core beliefs are normally created from all the way from the womb. They can even be past life. They can even be generational trauma passed down through you. So not always your core beliefs are always yours. They can actually be passed down through your generations. If your family or your mother or your father or your grandfather had a belief of there's not enough money or not enough resources, that can then be passed down through you, that then becomes your core belief. This then means that we have a sense of scarcity throughout life. So I've written down the ones that I see the most. So I've got some notes here as well. If you see me looking over here, that's where my notes are. And the subconscious programming, we are running 95% of the time through our subconscious. Our subconscious is also a part of the body. The body comes up and plays the messages through the body. Right? So when we're getting symptoms and sensations, so people with chronic symptoms are having chronic sensations being triggered from their core beliefs. So we'll run through some of these today, and I'm going to run through the main ones that I see, and then a little ceremonial practice that we can do about it. So there are multiple layers I want to state as well, that when we're doing core belief work and we're doing subconscious reprogram, there are multiple layers to this. This is just one layer. This is the work and the practice that takes place. There isn't one big cathartic moment and breath work and little maneuver that I can teach you that's going to release these core beliefs. This is going to be the work. This is going to be the practice. Everything else is a lot of fluffy stuff. So we need to make sure that we're just working and looking and being open to being curious of these. So firstly, I will say to you, go and grab yourself 5 bits of paper. 5 bits of paper, maybe 6. Grab 6 bits of paper or a pad and pen. That's all you'll need. So you can pause the video, come back to it when you have got those bits there. The main thing is then what we're going to be looking for are the core beliefs that you hold. So even if you don't have chronic symptoms, but you do have the same things reoccurring, repatterning in your life consistently, then you can still do this work. You don't have to have chronic symptoms to do this. I still have core beliefs that are outplaying themselves in the subconscious. Just remember that the subconscious is constantly always playing on autopilot. So we need to regroove the neural pathways of your old core beliefs and those neural patterns, and we need to start creating the new path. So the main core beliefs that I tend to see with people with chronic symptoms are, one is I don't belong, the feeling of not belonging. And this can show up as symptoms of withdrawing yourself from the world, that actually I'm not going to get involved in any public social scenario in case I get a fear of rejection. Or it can be the opposite, and an excessive need to fit in. Like I've got to constantly try and chameleonize myself in order to be liked by these people. Okay? It comes from a sense of fear. It comes from a sense of I don't belong. Now when we have this, also the body's mechanism, perspective from this is always having kidney issues, water retention and holding excess body fat. Because when you feel like you don't belong, you have a sense of aloneness, you sense of loneliness. When you have a sense of aloneness or loneliness, that means then that when you fall, no one's going to catch you. So the body creates water tension and body fat as a way of storing and keeping the body supported, that if you fall, it's got support. That's from the German New Medicine perspective of feelings like alone, or feeling like the refugee. You don't belong in the community or the household or the home that you are in. This often stems from experiences of rejection or feeling like the outsider or the black sheep of the family. So it's the constant feeling of like, I'm different. I just don't know if anyone gets me. And this then creates feelings of anxiety arises in the body, because if you don't feel like you belong, of course you're going to feel fearful. If you think of us as hunter-gatherer communities, which we are meant to be before the division of our society, that of hunter-gatherer communities, if you wasn't belonging in your tribe, it would literally mean death. So if you don't belong, I'm going to be kicked out of the tribe and have to fend for myself, which means most likely death. So this is going to cause anxiety, fear-based isolation. Just take that in a moment. See if any of that resonates with you and your being. Maybe that is. Maybe write that down if that's one of your core beliefs. Or if I'm talking about other things, write them down. Another thing that also arises with I don't belong is digestive issues and gut issues. There's the organs that are represented: kidneys, fear, adrenals, and digestive issues and worry. Number 2, I don't deserve to feel well. If you have a sense of not feeling like you deserve to feel well or deserve to feel this healthy because you have a sense of guilt, and the guilt can be from childhood. If you witnessed in your childhood your mother and father or your caregivers arguing all the time, to a child's brain of cause and reaction, you don't know, and we all didn't know, that would mean that is their thing and they're going through their own stuff. We believe that is interpreted through us. So when the parents have issues, emotional or addiction issues, or any other type of things that they find struggling in life, we are then going to believe that it's us that's the cause. So we feel guilty for it. So that then means I don't deserve to feel well or healthy because of this guilt, right? This is going to show up as this: I don't deserve things. I don't deserve things in life. Whenever I feel good in life, whenever I feel healthy, whenever I'm starting to be great on my food and eat what serves my body, I'm going to sabotage and just go and eat the things that I know don't serve me. As soon as you're starting to feel good, you're looking after your health, you're looking after your body, you're looking after everything in your life, everything is going well. I don't deserve to feel healthy, because that core belief conditioning programming is running in the background with all of these codes and memories of experiences that are proving this right. And this is the thing, is that the subconscious has this core belief of I don't deserve to feel well, or any of the core beliefs. And it has all of these experiences to say that this is true. So if I ask you to just take a moment right now and look around the room, and ask you to look around and count now how many things you see around you that are white. Just take a moment to do that. Look around the room, count all the things that are white. Now I'd like you to tell me the number of all the things that were red without looking. Okay? That is the subconscious. The subconscious is, if you are looking for the I'm not good enough or I don't deserve to feel well, you're going to see the white, that I don't deserve to feel well. I don't deserve to see this core belief or whatever it is. If I'm then asking you to look for what goes against that I do deserve to feel well, which is the red in this analogy, you're not going to look for it, because your neural pathways have engrooved the road of least resistance, which is I don't deserve to feel well. That's the core belief. Again, taking that a moment, see how that feels with you, see how that sits with you. Number 3. Again, I will go back and forth. That's how I work. My brain comes up and these things come in as I'm talking. So number 3 is remembering that also you can have one core belief. And if you're writing 10 core beliefs down, they're not core beliefs. You've probably got sub-beliefs. You may have 1 to 5 maximum. If you're going past that, then you're probably looking at sub-beliefs where these other core beliefs probably incorporate those as well. The biggest one that we see, I think we have an epidemic of this core belief, is I'm not good enough. How many of you resonate there? I know that's one of mine. Mine was always like, I am not good enough. So my world would be perceived of like, I need to see around me, and I keep constantly being told I'm not good enough. If a relationship didn't work, or if I didn't have enough money, or if I didn't get a job that I wanted, or I didn't win the race, I'm not good enough, consistently. Or the people on social media have more of this, or the people I see on TV or the movies. It's always about, keeping up with the Joneses, that I'm not good enough. These symptoms of what we see with the I'm not good enough wound is perfectionism. So constantly feeling like we need to be perfect in order to be good enough. So perfect that guess what? We don't do anything. Or so perfect, we get so stressed about doing something to its perfection that we're not going to leave and do anything until it's actually so perfect that we end up naturally not doing it at all. Can you resonate? No, I can. That's for sure. Avoidance of things like, I'm not going to get involved in anything because I just don't feel like I'm going to be any good at it. I know that's a big one for a lot of people. I'm just going to avoid it. I'm actually not going to do it. Lots of self-criticism. Lots of procrastination. And when we have these procrastination, these avoidant attitudes and these feelings of, no, I'm not feeling good enough, these can then sort of cause issues with us stepping into life with the power that we have. It's probably the biggest one that I see for people with chronic symptoms of not feeling good enough. And it's commonly developed from a critical parent or a form of bullying, even if it's laughable, jokeable bullying. I don't know if that is even a thing, but that passive aggressive bullying that you could get where it's like, I'm laughing at you, or this is a joke, or this is just take it as a joke, you're being sensitive. So some of us gifted child, I don't know if you've read the book, The Drama of the Gifted Child, definitely recommend that as a book for people. When we have these and we're empathetic and we're compassionate and we feel energies around us and we feel everyone else is around us, we have this sense that we may take some things more to heart, more sensitively. So when people are saying, oh, it's only a joke, don't worry about it, that can bring up, that's one of the biggest things that we have with critical parenting, right? Critical caregivers, or even when we're at school or we have other people around us. This belief then drives a harsh self-judgment on ourselves. That inner critic running from that core belief is quite quick. That is pretty hard. This affects your bones from a physical perspective, your muscle tissue, and your lymphatic system. What's the thing I talk about the most? The lymphatic system, okay? Because that was the thing that was sluggish for me because I had this core belief of not feeling good enough. Big one for sure. And don't worry, I'm going to go through some things in a ceremony that we can do to work on this and to try and start to let go of some of these core beliefs so that we can start to re-empower ourselves with some empowering statements of change. And then I'm going to tell you what we can do to start to rewire and build our new neural pathway. I've got one here that I don't know if I necessarily feel that is the one, but let's go. I'm going to go with this one. This was the one that just come through to me. It's like, I'm not safe. Okay, so that feeling of I'm not safe. When we don't feel safe and we don't feel safe of our environment, what's going to happen? Hypervigilance, we're going to be looking around quickly. If you've seen my other video on how to start somatic work, I talk about orientation. Orientation is looking around the room for safety. When we look around things slowly, we're creating safety by seeing that our environment is safe. People that are looking around the room really quickly and their eyes are darting around, they're hypervigilant, they're in a flight response. So that's normally very anxiously derived people. This means also that they will either avoid lots of risk in things, or they will go the complete polar opposite and go into lots of risky type situations in order to feel the adrenaline that they need. So it's one or the other. It comes from that sort of pain threshold type thing. And this can be traced back to either overprotective or an unpredictable childhood environment. If you had an unpredictable childhood environment, like a parent with addiction issues or mental, bipolar, depressive episodes, anxiety themselves, the unpredictability of their emotional state constantly, we're going to then feel that we are not grounded, we are not supportive, and that our environment isn't safe. This then means these people then end up being very focused on the environment, like mold or toxins or what diet to do or what this to do, because they don't feel inherently safe. So the outside world to them isn't safe, so that their internal world also isn't safe. So they have lots of controlling mechanisms, lots of OCD type, I need to control my environment and everything. I need to make sure I'm taking the right supplements, the right this, the right that, to make sure it's all perfect, because I need to control this little box, because the outside world is out to get me, because it is scary and it is wild. So this then states that you can imagine what that's doing internally to the nervous system, running in that flight response. That's a sense of that big sense of fear. That's cortisol being pumped out. That's adrenaline being pumped out. And once this has been going on for decades, the nervous system being heightened in that state for so long, once these people start doing healing nervous system work, they experience extreme fatigue. When they experience this extreme fatigue, it's because their nervous system is coming back into a sense of safety, but the core belief of I'm not safe is still running in the background. A great affirmation for these people is I am safe. My body knows how to heal itself. The only problem with affirmations is if we are not working on repatterning a new belief or new core belief of that I am safe, and then giving experiences and proof and evidence that that is right, then when you say I am safe or I am enough and looking in the mirror, it's not going to do anything, because it's not going to rewire any neural pathway, because your brain is like, well, or your subconscious more so, your subconscious is like, well, I've got all of this evidence backed that says I'm not safe. So it remembers all of this evidence from childhood and more to say that I'm not safe. So when you're telling me I'm safe, I don't believe you. Try it right now. Try it. If you're saying I'm enough, if your core belief is I'm not good enough, say I am enough. Say the opposite. Guarantee that little subconscious inner critic comes up and goes, no, you're not. You're not talking the truth. How many times have people here tried positive affirmations and the little voice in the back of their head says, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. That's not true. I don't really believe this. Of course it doesn't really believe this, because all the core beliefs, programming, conditioning that code is proving it wrong. It's proving your reality right, that, oh yeah, I am not good enough. So this is where the training and the perception of this will come in. Like we've got to train that I am good enough, or to train that I am safe. And this is great, coming back to that, what I was talking about earlier was orientation, is actually looking around the environment slowly, like I am safe in this moment. So hopefully you're writing some down that resonate with you, and you're writing these down on a bit of paper. And I'm going to go through with you something that we can do, a little practice that we can do after that. Got one more, and the last one is I get my needs met by being sick. This could be a sub-belief that I do see with people, but it is one that comes up a lot. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a core belief, because I think it underpins something else there. But I get my needs met by being sick. It's a hard one for people to sit with. And a lot of people get triggered by it, because it's, oh, what? How do I get my needs met by being sick? But ask yourself, if you have chronic symptoms, what need of yours is being met? Ask yourself, is there a need being met? How does it serve you? How do your symptoms serve you? If you are struggling with chronic fatigue and pain, and you are slowing down, doing less, just being, and resting and recuperating and recovering, there's a need of yours that's being met. If you didn't get enough attention, or the attention you would have liked as a child, but when you go to doctor's visits and you go to all these different practitioners and these acupuncturists and masseuses and different things, and you're getting the attention that you need, is there a need of yours that is being met in that moment? That actually, yeah, I am getting a need of mine met in that moment. This doesn't mean that you're doing this on purpose. It means that there's a core belief running in the background. And it doesn't mean this is why you're having these symptoms. But these are triggering off symptoms within the body. It's like, well, I'm not going to get my needs met if I get healthy. I'm not going to get the attention that I needed as a child if I'm healthy. It's a big one. It's a big one. Okay. Take a moment, have a little pause, go and give yourself a little body shake after that, because I'm sure if you've written these down or even listened, they're going to hold a heavy frequency in your body. Take a moment, give yourself a shake. Give yourself some movement. Give yourself some slapping. Move some of that chi around your body. Get some of that frequency moving. Some of that density. And then when you're ready, we're going to start a little practice and we're going to do a little bit of a ceremony around this. Okay? So I want you to start now writing on these core beliefs. I want you to have your own piece of paper, and I want you to write the core belief that you have picked up on at the very top, and I want you to write that as the title. Okay? Now I want you to set a little timer for yourself, so you're probably going to need to pause the video as I'm talking about this. Set a little timer for yourself for 5 minutes and write down all the supporting memories, thoughts, evidence, experience that solidify that core belief. This is an important part. I also want you to keep asking yourself, why do you believe this? Why do I believe this? For example, if I'm not good enough, and that was because I was abandoned in childhood, why do I believe this? Because I spent a lot of time on my own, or my mum was dealing with their own issues, or my dad was dealing with his own issues, and I spent go in detail. This is an important part. Most people want to know the quick fix to this stuff. This is the work. This is the work we're doing together. Take a moment, write all these things down, pause the video for a moment, and do this for each one of your core beliefs. Pausing. Take that for a moment. Once you've got all these 5, I then want you to make sure that you are going and looking at those and looking at what is you are responsible for. How can you take responsibility for these core beliefs? One may be, I was a child. I didn't know how to look after myself. I didn't know any better. Of course, you're a child. Or mum was dealing with her own issues. Okay, but the responsibility is like, I didn't know that. That's you taking your responsibility. If we don't take responsibility for anything in life or these things, that we are becoming the victim mentality. It's that the outside world is to get us. If we break down the word responsible, response, able. So the response, we have a response to this, and we have to be able in the world, in our world around us. So take a moment, write those down. Write all of them down for 5 minutes. Done. Okay, you've unpaused it. Here we are. Once you've completed this for each belief, you should have 5 bits of paper now. And on those 5 bits of paper, I want you to fold the paper in half. And I want you to then have these bits of paper, and I want you to hold them and cup them in your hand. And I want you to say out loud, I am ready to release these beliefs. I am ready and willing to let go of all that is holding me back from my authentic desires and the path of my soul. I'm going to repeat that again. I am ready and willing to release these beliefs. I am ready and willing to let go of all that is holding me back from my authentic desires and the path of my soul. feel what it would feel like to release these core beliefs. Take a moment, and I want you to now get all these bits of paper, cup them in your hand, move them to your mouth, and I want you to breathe gently into it 3 times. So, and then I want you to safely find a little place where you can put a fire or have a fireplace, and then you can burn them in the fire. And watch them. Be still and let them burn and let it go. And just watch them go and leave. This is the first part. Once we've burned, we've let go, we're not going to hold on to this stuff, this heavy frequency anymore. We're going to start rewiring, repatterning, recoding that subconscious to an empowering new belief system. So now I want you to remember the ones that you've written down, and I want you to write next to the core beliefs an empowering polar opposite statement, a commitment statement. So if your example is like, I feel unworthy of happiness, or I don't feel good enough, the opposite of that would be, I am worthy, I am enough, I matter. Okay? This is that first part, and write this down in that commitment statement that this is what you're going to bring into yourself. Okay? Now, the next part of this is the practice, the daily practice of firstly being aware that this is a core belief that's been going on in the background in your subconscious. And now you need to start proving to your subconscious and start giving evidence, just like you did all those years ago of I'm not good enough, to now start feeling like you are enough. What are the evidence? What are the things showing you in your life? What are the things that you're seeing now in your world that are showing you that you are good enough? This is that consistent work. How can you give yourself action? How can you show that I am proving to myself here that I am enough? So for example, I'll give you a point from me. I never felt good enough as a child for my multiple reasons and the multiple memories and the multiple evidences that this belief withhold in me. That was a good thing in some respect because it was a driver for me to push to do things and to learn things and to do other stuff. I joined the forces in the Royal Marines at a really young age. I'd done all these crazy experiences and probably things that weren't great for me at the same time. But what it did is it brought me to this situation here. It brought me to where I am here today. So it was a superpower in its own sense. But we need to let go of it because there's a more empowering one. Because if you believe that you're enough and you are constantly showing yourself the reality of you're enough, you're picking up on that new frequency. So for example, if I'm starting to look around the world now and I'm like, I'm actually really being of service, and this is my duty to be of service to people and watching them thrive and go from surviving to thriving, that then, okay, every time that happens to me, it's I'm enough. Now we have to be careful that we're not getting into the sense of like wounded healers here, but in the sense of like I'm proving to myself that I've done this. For example, if you're feeling like I am not safe and that is a core belief of yours, then it's like I am safe in this environment right now. When you're feeling those moments when you're outside in nature and the sun is shining and you're in this perfect place, that's where you take that moment. I am safe. I am safe in this moment right now. And because your body at the same time is feeling that sense of safety, it will take that as a notch and a ticket. So you'll tick up, yep, okay, I'm feeling safe in this moment. So over time, we slowly build on this. We're rebuilding those neural pathways and we're rebuilding, and neuroplasticity is doing its beautiful thing of recoding all of the new subconscious programming that we're looking to do. There is no quick fix to this. This is the deeper work. But I tell you right now that once you start doing this, this is life-changing for you. You need to do this work consistently. Write your commitment statements down on your polarizing view. If you don't do I'm not good enough, or you do I'm not good enough, and you write I am enough and this is why. And I want you to start writing down on a little notepad or keep it in a journal, on your phone, whatever it be for you, and keep noticing down, these are the reasons why I'm enough. And this is why. Okay, this thing happened today, this is why I'm enough. I am safe. My body knows how to heal itself. Why?
What are the evidence you're giving it? You need to give evidence to your subconscious to relearn the patterns. This then signals to your nervous system and your somatic body. This will be a big game changer if you've got chronic symptoms. I'd love to know some of your core beliefs in the comments, and I'd love to know how you got on with the process. Much love. Go gentle. Love you.